owner. You do not shovel horse dookie, especially on a horse. It's upsetting. We're going to pray for Terry. Hopefully. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome or welcome back to Soap Lore, the official gathering place for newbies, novices, and OG diehard fans of the golden age of primetime. I'm your host, Jet, viewing and reviewing the soapiest, sudsiest primetime storyline of 1984-1985. So whether you're new to this or true to this, sit back and enjoy. Tell the kids it's time to play outside or out of sight. There'll be no questions, suggestions, or concerns for the next 25 to 35 minutes. Everyone else in earshot, you can be cool, you can be calm, or you can collect your things and get out because we are watching our stories. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Soap Lore. Welcome back, party people, to another fun-filled edition of Soap Lore. Can't wait to jump into this one. We are about 2/3 of the way through Falcon Crest. For whatever reason, Falcon Crest feels like they had a lot to say. Perhaps the writers got into a little bit of a disagreement. We have 30 episodes this season. I knew it was more than the others. I had forgotten how many exactly. So that means I'm probably going to have to do shorter episodes, but a little bit more frequently to get through this season. If you've been listening since the beginning, or perhaps you went back and listened, you'll notice that I kind of like to keep the three major ones, being Falcon Crest, Dallas, and Dynasty, on the same episode, or at least the same little bunch of episodes during the same season. Originally I was comparing apple to apples. I don't really feel the need to do that anymore, but sometimes the stories overlap. We've seen some borrowing of storylines, borrowing of titles, but you know what? There is nothing new under the sun, and so long as you put your spin on it, I don't really care if I've seen it 15 times. I'm going to watch it again if it's good. Today, we also have a wonderful piece of fan mail from a diehard fan. I always love to hear from you guys. I love to hear from everybody, but I especially love a diehard fan within this genre, because we're talking 30 plus years after the fact. If you can still sit down and watch something again after 30 years, you know it's good. That being said, I was at my mother-in-law's house the other day and she was watching The Munsters, and I instantly got a flashback. Rest in peace to my grandma. We used to watch The Munsters in the morning and she would make pancakes. I thought Herman Munster was the coolest, and I always felt so bad for him. That man could never just sit down and eat his breakfast without some sort of chaos erupting. And he was always so level-headed. No pun intended. All right, guys, go ahead and pour yourself up something bubbly and bright. I am trying, what is this? The limoncello from La Croix. My name is not Jacqueline, so I am not pronouncing this as it should be. I love when summer is around the corner because all the new flavors start to come out. Let's go on and crack this open, y'all. I'm curious. Pour yourself up something bubbly and bright, and let's jump into Season 4, Episode 18 of Falcon Crest, The Showdown. You know what that tastes like? I'm more of a savory person, and I think I drink sparkling water because it's not heavily flavored. So this one is light. However, it tastes like a very faint buttercream icing in every way but the sugar. I don't know how else to describe that. All right, we got a little fan mail today. This is from my new friend Bob. Bob says, Knots is hands down my favorite show of all time. I'm currently listening to your season 2 Knots Landing episodes, so I'm behind and probably telling you information that you now already heard. But here goes, just in case you haven't heard these factoids. It goes on to say that Crystal Lair Place is in Granada Hill, is the name of the cul-de-sac. I don't know if I knew the name, or a few episodes back, one of the listeners let me know. We tried to send pictures. Unfortunately, that's when I discovered that you can't actually send them through text, but figured out that was an actual place. I don't recall if the name was in that piece of fan mail. I don't think it was. But Bob goes on to say, this is so fun. Okay, so this is Crystalaire Place in Granada Hills is the name of the cul-de-sac which the outside scenes were shot. It's called Seaview Circle on the show. It's not even close to the ocean. That overhead shot from the opening titles was spliced. In 1979, much of the development was still being built. Says E.T. was probably filmed nearby. The homeowners were apparently paid very well for the use of their properties and the inconvenience. The home at the end of the cul-de-sac, which is much smaller than it appears on screen, it's on the same side as Gary and Val's house, was apparently very pissed that his place wasn't being used and that he was missing out on some good checks. Rightfully so. So he purposely parked his eyesore of an RV in front of his house. Or in the driveway. And it's like, he says, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's been part of the landscape for years. Thank you. I did not know all of that. I've gotten a few little bits and pieces. One of my listeners told me that the sequence in the beginning is going to change from season to season, and I can see that now on season 3. But it is one of my favorite parts of Knots Landing is at the end of the show where they do the overhead shot. I just like looking at the neighborhood. I like that they zoom out, but I'm going to pay a lot more attention now. And I can't wait to see this eyesore of an RV. I don't blame him. Up until recently, I believed that this was on some back lot at MGM or something. Zoom Studios buy up big swaths of land, big parcels of land so they can build and tear down different sets. That way you can keep coming back. Because, I never thought about it being in a neighborhood, but I read somewhere recently that the home on Breaking Bad recently went for sale, I believe. But the family would just kind of clear out and let them come in and shoot whatever scenes they needed to. So I guess that could be a little bit of an inconvenience, especially circa 1979. But I'm assuming they're only shooting the outside of the houses. Another thing I need to start paying a little bit more attention to is where everyone is in the cul-de-sac. I don't think I have it down just yet, but it seems like starting from the west side of the road, it would be, is it Val and Gary? Then, who is Val's neighbor? I think it's Val and Gary, Karen and Sid, Laura and Richard. It seems like Kenny and Ginger live across the street, I think. And then it seems like Abby lives on the other side of, I think she lives on the other side of Laura and Richard, or she lives a little further down. Either way, I like Abby's outside the best. I feel like she's got those really long steps. I don't know what you call them. They're not very high, but she seems to have a little bit more of a patio stair step hybrid. I like the front of her house a lot. Thank you for the tidbit. Any news you guys have that isn't a spoiler, obviously, let me know. I love this. I don't have any proof of this, but if I had to venture a guess, I would say that the writers on this show are closeted novelists, because this story is super rich, super intricate. There's so many moving parts to this. Let's do a really quick review. The whole entire premise of season 4 is that there is hidden treasure underneath Falcon Crest. That's right, hidden treasure that is unknown to anyone other than the Nazi child who blew up his father after he rejected his birthday present or something. Jean-Louis De Blanc, De Blue, De Bibbidi Boo has strong-armed his way into Tuscany Valley. He punked one of the neighbors, made her sell her vineyard in her house. He is then living in it. He then bought some cheap real estate downtown, put up a land development office, spends his days painting women's boobs and listening to all of Angela's conversations via this big soaring eagle statue. It's big for a small room. Listens to all of Angela's very private, very villainy plans. So all that's happening. Maggie finds out that she is adopted. Her birth mother, sweetest little woman who has been on the mend as far as recovering from her gambling addiction. She really don't want to bother anybody. I suppose Maggie's adopted mother has passed on, but her father is an archaeologist who is digging up bones or something to the effect somewhere outside of Falcon Crest. Angela also found out she had brand new family members by way of an Italian sister named Francesca, who did a tarantula tap dance all over them when she felt disrespected because they were fighting amongst each other as family. It was a disgrace. It was embarrassing. She got on the first thing smoking, back to Italy with a check, of course, not before stealing Richard's heart. Richard also has an additional family member, sort of. It is his former stepdaughter, who he still calls his daughter. She has moved into town. She is a college co-ed, obviously. She's in love with Lance, who has had a change of heart. He wants to be working, earning his own keep, because he stays on kicked out terms with his grandmama, so he has to have a job at this point. He is back on Angela's good side, back in the will, but you know who's not? Bad girl Melly Mel. Bad girl Melly Mel has reformed. She has changed her ways. She is now on the verge, on the fast track of being Mrs. Cole Giaberti, raising her son, his proper father, in a proper home that is no longer occupied by his deceased wife, Shania Linda. Okay, am I missing anything? Oh, of course I am. So Julia, the murderous wine scientist with a heart of gold, she's been through it. She came back from the dead via a tunnel underneath Springhouse, moved into a tin can camper with her booski, only to be abducted by Jean-Louis, a.k.a. the Nazi child, a.k.a. I don't forget his name. Still with me? Okay. Richard has somehow come into the family business. He is, by way of seduction, Richard is introduced as the third partner at Falcon Crest, and he is disrespecting the brand by making a cheap table wine, also called lighter fluid, by the Giabertis. This is all coming to a head. He is on the fast track because he is about business, not heritage. Chase is still chasing after people who may or may not have set him up when the whole plane went down and he was blamed. I forgot that was at the beginning of this season. Plane goes down. He was blamed for it by Angela. All that stuff has smoothed over at this point. We are finally getting to the point where people are starting to disappear. Chase knows about the cartel. His homeboy gets murdered, I suppose. I didn't see a body, so I'm not going to believe that. And Jean-Louis Dibble Dabble is not only holding Julia hostage, but he is trying to seduce the whimsical and wonderful Emma. All right, I think that's just about everything. Let's jump into this episode. I want to go ahead and touch base on the bit players this episode because there's not a ton going on with them. Bit players on this episode would be Aunt Terry. It would be the Manimal, who's in it the whole time, but he's just basically Angela's henchman. And good old baby girl Lorraine. Terry has it in her head that she needs to match up with the Manimal. Now the Manimal, okay, the more he's on the show, the less of a hottie I realize he is. Physically, yes, he looks like Ken doll. He's always going to be gorgeous. However, I buy him as even less of a heartthrob than Cole. Let me be very clear. Cole is good looking. I totally understand the appeal, especially if you're young. Him popping off, being, oh, he's so dangerous, even though he's not. He's really a very good boy. He's actually never been anything but a very, very good boy. He just happens to be very easy to blame, and because he's got a hairpin trigger, it's easy to get wrapped up in some of his folly, even though it's not really ever his fault. So far, he's pretty much free and clear. But I can understand the appeal there. With the Manimal, the fact that he's pulling anybody is a little bit shocking to me. The fact that he thinks he has what it takes to seduce and keep bad girl Melly Mel is laughable. We all know the bad girls are the ones choosing. You don't choose them, they choose you. She chose Cole. She eventually chose Lance. I get it. But the Manimal he just won't let it go. And it's so weird to me that Angela thinks this is a good pairing because she feels like bad girl Melly Mel would make a wonderful political wife. On what planet? That's how I know she secretly hates him. He's probably young and annoying to her. She wants an 87-year-old man who ain't gonna give her any lip. Not this young man who's always looking in mirrors, flipping his hair around. She ain't got time for all that. She keeps her curls tight. She expects her lawyer's hair to be tight. Anyway, Aunt Terry's self-esteem is somewhere in the pits of hell. I don't know why this woman doesn't understand much of anything. There's that saying, be good or be good at it. She's not good or good at it. She has been extracted from the Bad Girls Club because she does not meet the qualifications. That was an oversight on my part. It won't happen again. Terry shows up to the Manimal's ranch, and she's coming to seduce him, but she comes in her I am presentable, I could be somebody's wife outfit. It is actually very cute. I am starting to realize that I don't like 80s clothes because I was not introduced to the finer section of 80s clothes. 80s designer clothes are fantastic. Well, don't quote me on that. So far, so good on Dynasty and on Falcon Crest. 80s, mid 80s clothing is really, really good. But of course, they're not wearing off the rack, I'm sure. Terry shows up easily wearing $400 worth of clothes. She's got her hot rollers done, her hair's did. It's nice and beauty pageant big. She's got it sprayed back. She came to seduce, or try to seduce, or at least be like, hey, look at me, Manimal. Do you know what this walking, talking marionette doll does to her? He hands her a pitchfork, just like that picture of those two old people. You know the one. And there's like a pitchfork in the middle. He hands her a pitchfork, tells her to start shoveling dookie. He got a hot date with I Love Leather Pam, aka Richard's old secretary / main squeeze / whatever she was. Placeholder? I don't know. She was gone once Francesca came up in there. He hands Terry a pitchfork, and do you know that she begins shoveling doo-doo and hay? In her $400 outfit? To impress the Manimal? Terry. This is why I'm saying, as a big sister, it is Maggie's job to get her little sister together. Maybe you don't know she's been a hooker. Why is her life so different, first and foremost? What is that about? Maybe Maggie dodged a genetic bullet, maybe not. Something definitely happened to Terry when Maggie left home. But anyway, Terry, you are a multimillionaire now. You are a vineyard owner. You do not shovel horse dookie, especially on a horse. It's upsetting. We're going to pray for Terry. Hopefully, she can learn to be bad, or we need another millionaire to swoop in and get her. This is just a mess. Terry has been ping pong back and forth between every single person on this show with the exception of her sister. Angela has used her. Chase can't stand her for real. The Manimal is, I don't know what he's doing. Now she's doing free manual labor. Terry. Go home, Terry. It might be time up for Terry to pack it up. She should have married the Florida man again at this rate. I wonder when he's getting out of rehab. I kind of missed him being on the show. God, I hope he's really in rehab and not off the side of a mountain or something. It was some of Richard's quote-unquote friends who picked him up after all. Speaking of Richard. Sweet little Lorraine. Lorraine. You know what it is. I don't even have to say it. Let's do a little quiz, shall we? What happens when a good girl goes to college and her rich, super powerful, slightly villainous stepdad owns a big company? Stepdad has a little bit of an enemy who happens to be 6'3", baby oil down, Brooks Brothers suit wearing. What do you think is going to happen? You know what happened. She's going to fall head over heels in love with him. Especially when the stepdad tells her not to step to him because, nature's going to take its course. So she is once again pleading her case while Richard is eating these little pastries. Forgive me, I don't remember the name, but there's some sort of jam or something in the middle of it. He is wolfing them down like, dang, you don't want any of these? These are so good. Of course, he has his chaser, his milk. I thought she was grossed out because he was wolfing them down. He wouldn't shut up about them. And maybe she's also thinking, why does this grown man love milk so much? It's kind of weird. But instead, she's just kind of swallowing back whatever's going on with her. She ends up at the doctor a little bit later on, where they finally announce that she is indeed prego. No surprise there. Let's be real. We're all adults here, right? Let's be real. Don't get it twisted. In 1984, you could be sitting 200 yards downwind from Lorenzo Lamas, a.k.a. Lance Compson, and get pregnant. The dude is exuding studliness. Obviously, that was bound to happen, especially since Lorraine keeps sneaking off to meet him at all hours of the night in hotel, motels, and Holiday Inns. At least she doesn't know this, but we, the audience, know he was a great dad to baby Joseph, so hey, why not? Have at it. I don't think this is going to bear well with the rest of the people on the show. I think Angela's going to lose her absolute mind, as is Richard. He might Man, Lance is going to end up on a desert island somewhere, kidnapped in a basement or something. But you know what? The more the merrier, and baby Joseph needs a friend. But speaking of baby Joseph, he is having trouble in super duper pre-K. I don't know what kind of school a 2-year-old goes to, but he's a rich 2-year-old, so I really wouldn't know anything about that. Baby Joseph's teachers reach out to Cole, and they're concerned because the other toddlers are making fun of him. Now, why would you make fun of this precious baby, this precious angel? Probably because he's in the corner doing taxes or doing something super adult and weird. He's probably making coffee, walking around like an old man with his hands in his pocket, admiring the grass, checking the doorknob, stuff like that. Making sure, getting rid of the squeak, spraying WD-40 on hinges, stuff like that. No. Those little monsters are teasing Joseph because his mommy and daddy aren't married. I didn't realize that children were so morally superior. First off, what kind of conversations are we having over fruit cups? If y'all don't take your little... Well, anyway, this just can't be. His parents, Melissa and Cole, decide that they need to get married sooner rather than later. Now, both of them are just coming off of 2 marriages. I don't see any reason to make a big fuss. You're already shacked up. You already got the baby. Go down to the courthouses, make it official like the referee whistle. However, that can't be. This will not happen until her marriage to Lance is annulled. Now, we're all expecting this to be a big problem. I certainly did. And Angela has somehow become privy to this information, although this was a very private conversation inside of Cole and Melissa's bedroom, which we see a lot of this season. She calls Lance into her office and she says, "Hey kid, I need you to stall. I need you to take as long as possible. Make Melissa's life as difficult as you possibly can. Please don't divorce her. Don't get your marriage annulled." He's like, "Sure." What does he do? He walks down to the church himself personally, talks to somebody, gets the paperwork, brings it to Cole and Melissa by the episode's end and says, "Hey, I already filled out my part. Fill out your part unless you want me to forge it for you." Like, he's cool. Are we amicable? Absolutely. Do they like each other? No, but I mean... What does she have that he wants at this point? Nothing. What does he have that she wants at this point? Nothing. There's no point in even pissing off Angela because both of them are liable to be put in and out of the wheel at least 14 more times before this series is over. So let's not stretch out any other part of our lives. Let's just get this done. And you can marry Goody Two Shoes over here. Now we get, ladies and gentlemen, to the main event. This is the best part of this episode. From the very beginning was to be the sole owner and operator of Falcon Crest. Chase swooped in after his father went off the side of a cliff, ruined all those plans, but she has come to sort of accept Chase, but Richard is yet another obstacle. What you have is 3 very different people with very different visions of this vineyard, and on today, Richard has invited his partners, his brother and Angela, out to some warehouses. They can bear witness. I guess he has a truck full of wine. Just keep that in mind. So Angela shows up and she keeps that old lady energy. You know, an old auntie. She's just mad. It don't matter what you say. You can say, "Man, you look pretty today. I guess I should. You drugged me out of the house. Can't believe you brought me to this. But if you didn't, can't believe you didn't invite me. There is no winning here." Luckily, Richard don't give a damn. So Angela pulls up in the Gotham City villain car. Chase and Cole pull up in my dad's 1984 Chevy. Richard is glowing. Actually, for those of you not watching, you need to get to a TV with the quickness. Richard and Chase look... Okay, all the dudes in this scene look extra good. I don't know if they got some new conditioner. I don't know if there was a new stylist. I can't quite put my finger on it, but they look more alive. And I'm like, is it because they're outside in natural light? Everybody looks good. You're realizing, if not for the first time, one of the first times, okay, this is why they're on the soap operas. You already know how I feel about Chase. Chase looks extra fine this episode. I'm sorry. Let me get back on track. Yes, Angela is irritated that she's been drug out of her house. She has on her Tuesday fur instead of her TV fur. She had no idea there were going to be photographers here. So she's pissed about that. Richard is not letting any of this get to him again. He is a businessman. He is going to present this business. He understands the press. Or they open the door to the warehouse in a very dramatic fashion. A big old Mack truck comes pulling out with a tank filled to the tippy top of wine. And as I'm saying this out loud, okay, I didn't really think about this before now. In 1984, 85, where would that wine go? Because it's in the same sort of trucks that delivers gas today. I don't know where that would go. I've seen this with milk, so perhaps it goes into like a larger vessel and then is bottled. And because they won't allow him to bottle his quote unquote lighter fluid at Falcon Crest, I guess he had to find somewhere else to take it. I'm very confused. Damn. Okay. I'm not gonna get hung up on that. Let's keep the story moving. Just know that there is an 18-wheeler carrying around Richard's lighter fluid, cheap table wine. Let Chase and Angela tell it. So within a few minutes of departing the warehouse, you see this standard issue 1980s blacked out getaway van filled with kidnappers, or in this case, wine nappers. They trap the driver of the 18-wheeler, snatch him up out of the front seat, rough him up a little bit, steal the truck. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a heist. They're going to take the truck. They're going to ask for money to get it back. No. They drive promptly to what I thought was a children's park. But I guess it was just the opening to some sewer or some sort of drainage system. And they release all of the wine. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been a very long time since I've done soap law theater. But I'd like for you to imagine this little piece of fan fiction. In my heart of hearts, this story is so much better if they're dropping this wine off at a park. Can you imagine how lit the play dates would have been that day? Can you imagine all those very tired soccer moms and stay-at-home dads chilling at the park? Their kids are running amok. One of them is downwind from the little valley where they dropped the wine. One of the moms smells it, because you know moms know what wine smells like. She goes over there with the baby Timmy's little thermos. The old school ones I used to have, and like back in the day where you could take the top off and it was a cup. She starts scooping it in the... It could happen. Listen, if you watch the show, it's very much, it's not like in dirt. It's on this like concrete runoff. Again, I thought it was a park. In my head, that's what happened. So all the moms had a damn good day at the park. Anyway, this does not go over well with Richard. Once he realizes that his truck has been snatched up and all of the contents of said truck have been emptied into some drainage system, feeding all the alligators, rats, and ninja turtles that live in the sewer system at Tuscany Valley, he's pissed. As a matter of fact, he's pissed and he wants to point fingers. He's like, I know exactly who did this. Somebody who either has a bad perm or looks like they have a bad perm. Matter of fact, I'm calling both of them right now. I'm cussing both of them out today, right now. Leather Pants Pam is like, I don't know, Rich. He's like, I don't want to hear it. I know it was him. So keep in mind that the truck is still kind of parked catawampers behind Richard. Angela and Chase show up. Angela comes back in the billing car, Chase back in my dad's Chevy. Richard's like, yeah, hey, thank you. Thank you for showing up, making time of your busy schedule. I thought you'd want to see the mess you made. Chase and Angela have no idea what he's talking about. She's like, oh, I mean, did you park your truck like that so you could age your wine? Like, what is this? Chase walks up and he's like, did somebody really pour all your stuff down the drain? It seems like a likely story. I'm paraphrasing here. Richard's like, wow, you're really on your Al Pacino today, because you sound like you seem like you really don't know. Chase is like, I don't, but I do know what it feels like. Have to pour a lot of wine down the drain. And then he kind of sniggles it. Made a dad joke. And Angela's like, you really didn't. Stop talking, boy. Angela is just as lovely as a gentleman. In this scene, she is in her Tuesday fur, which is a gray wool coat with a fur collar, and she's wearing gloves. This is all in wine country, California. I didn't know it was this chilly all year round, but they seem to wear a lot of clothes. On this episode, everybody's wearing a white sweater or some combination of sweaters in either white or red. Back to Richard and Chase. So Richard's like, you know what, Chase? This is real cute. You can drop the act. I know it was you. I know it was one of the two of y'all. I know one of you curly coif convicts did this because you're jealous of my insatiable appetite for success and my successful wine, that you have the audacity to pour down the drain. Then you're going to stand in front of me, in front of God and everybody, and tell me you didn't do this to my face? Chase is like, calm down. Your imagination is out of control at this point. So Richard wants smoke. He did not call them all the way down here for absolutely nothing. He's like, you know what? Didn't your son almost go to jail for killing somebody? And Chase is like, oh, nah, hell no. Oh, you want that kind of smoke? You want that problem today? Don't ever bring up my kid again. Don't you ever bring up my kid again. Angela is not helping, by the way. Richard's like, well, he was pretty pissed the other day. Your son was awfully mad because his champagne went down the drain. And Angela's like, yeah, he was. You right. Cole then Chase reiterates, keep my son's name out your mouth. Chase sort of bumps Richard with his chest. Richard's like, this today is not the day. I will not get bullied. He revs back, reaches his fist back to Nevada. He's going to knock Chase's head smooth off his shoulders. Revs back. Now Chase, he was in the Army. He's a pilot. He's got those reflexes we all need. He easily ducks Richard's punch. Oh my gosh. Easily ducks a punch. And unfortunately, somebody gets punched in the face. But the camera's on Richard. Then Richard just goes, oh my God, I've done it now. And Chase, raises up from the squatting position. They turn around, tell me why Angela. Oh, Lord, they got her. My girl is 10 feet away, slung up against the side of some sort of cement structure. He cold cocked Angie. How are you going to knock out an old lady? Now I'm going to hell for laughing with you. Oh my gosh. Okay. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think I've spoken on this show about it just a little bit. There was this daytime soap opera that used to come on right after Days of Our Lives called Passions. I believe they have a podcast now. I really want to listen to it, but I really want to watch Passions. I can't seem to find it anywhere. Anyway, on Passions, it's this little town, right? Same old story. Rich family, poor family. There's intermingling, upset families. There's villains. There's good guys. There's everything in between. But this show had a special twist because there was a witch, a 300-year-old witch named Tabitha who loved quiche and stirring up trouble. Tabitha had a trusty sidekick, which was a quote-unquote doll that she carried around with her named Timmy. Now, Timmy would come to life all the time, and it's just so weird because Tabitha was kind of known as a weird, eccentric lady about town who walked around with this doll. But Timmy could come to life. And I think the actor that played Timmy, it's hard to tell since he was a doll. I think he probably would have been, let's say he was between 16, let's say between 14 and 20. So he's a young man, older child, whatever. So she could have easily just let him be alive and walk around, but for whatever reason, they wanted her to have a doll. Man. Sometimes Timmy would have to fall back into doll form, and when he did, he would just kind of slump over, just like a Chucky doll. That's what they got my girl Angie out here looking tossed like Timmy. The funniest part of all of this is that their response was it wasn't oh my God, let's get her to a hospital. Chase was like, dang it, Rich, I'm going to get in trouble because I ducked. I know I'm going to get in trouble. Sure enough. Next scene, they show my girl on the couch with one of those hot water bags or ice bags, the one you put in your freezer. It's made of silicone with a little with a little twisty knob on top. She's holding it to her chin. And the Manimal's like, you can sue them. You can sue Richard. That was clearly assault. But Angie goes, well, it was Chase who ducked. I'm like, now how this man? Why are his reflexes on trial here? Richard, I guess, is sort of feeling himself, or just maybe he feels bad for her. He's like, you really should go to a hospital and check that out. She's basically like, boy, bye. I grew up with a brother. I used to knock him out. He knocked me out one time. I knocked him out twice. Please, you hit like a woman. Hit like a girl, Rich. I could tell he went to boarding school. She's acting all tough. I just hate that the implication is that Chase should have been a man and taken the punch. But I mean, no sense in everybody being knocked out. Who knew Rich had it in him? I guess milk does a body good. And he is all of 6'4", so hey. That was going to hurt even if he wasn't that strong. But that's neither here nor there. Angie decides to put this on ice temporarily. We will revisit this at another time. But in the meantime, in between time, it is abundantly clear that there is something going on. Someone wants us pitted against each other. We all have this business at play. Chase got poisoned. You got drained. It's only a matter of time before they come for me. Who could want us out of business like this? This is a little confusing because I don't binge them all at the same time, but we, the audience, have known about De Bercy as his name this whole time. We've known he's Johan Reedman's son. We know Johan Reedman is gone. We know they're all connected to the cartel. Chase didn't know that for a long time, neither did Angie. It is at this moment that Richard comes clean about the cartel, Johan Reedman, and his affiliation with his mother, Jacqueline. Angela, of course, scoffs like, dang, your mother wasted no time or talent, did she? Mind you, she still got a nice pack on her chin. Well, Chase is like, Rich, it can't be Johan Reedman because he's dead, but we heard he has a son. So we're looking for someone who's much younger and, he's running the cartel as far as I can tell. And Rich was like, well, how do you know that? You're working with the government. They don't really get into a bunch of the details, but it's all coming out. Angie's like, okay, cool. So the cartel is possibly here. We're looking for a younger guy. Why would he want Falcon Crest? Chase says, it's legit. It's power. It's wealth. It's a perfect front if you think about it. This is where the Manimal's talents come through. He not only has a wonderful head of hair, he says, well, Angie, the only person who's been wanting to buy you out is De Bercy, a.k.a. Little Reedman. And she says, well, it can't be him. Didn't you look him up? Didn't you go through his record? Manimal says, well, now that I think about it, maybe it was a little bit too clean. Nobody that wealthy is that squeaky clean. So, it probably is him. And through deductive reasoning and light investigation, throughout the rest of the episode, kind of put two and two together, come to the conclusion that it's probably De Bercy / Reedman. But not before he has a wonderful afternoon on his yacht in a crisp white sweater with a wonderful and whimsical Emma. Now, Emma gets the jaw jacking. She's so poetic and romantic. She starts talking about tunnels and stuff under her. How she believes her sister's alive, but no one else believes her. And he's like, well, why would you say that? Mind you, he's also pretending to be the psychiatrist. She tells him, well, we have all these tunnels under Falcon Crest. Now, this is music to his treasure-hunting ears. Let the games begin. He's like, oh, do tell. She's like, well, back in the day, back through Prohibition and stuff, people used to have to do some funny things, do something strange for a little change. Well, no, that's probably not how that saying is supposed to go. But basically, there were tunnels built underground so that booze could be transported to and fro. Probably they're even older than that. So he's like, okay, bet, that's wonderful. For no other reason than I need to say this. I don't think I've ever fully expressed this. Johan Reedman's son, a.k.a. De Bercy, a.k.a. Dr. Psycho, loves to draw this particular woman and her boobs all the time. He'll draw for a little bit, he'll make her hold an apple, then she has to take off her top. I didn't realize she was also his secretary until the end of this episode, where she shows up on Angela's door. But let me back up just a little bit. De Bercy comes to Angela's home after he spent some time with Emma on his yacht. Angie tells him, don't come back here no more. I don't like you. I don't want you around my daughter. Don't ever show up here again. You know how this man takes rejection. I'd be terrified to piss him off if I knew his history, which they don't. Angela doesn't give a damn. So, De Bercy Reedman goes back to his house. He tells Topless Tanya, the secretary, hey, I need you to go back over there and handle it. He then goes down to the cellar or wherever he's keeping Julia, and he's like, why didn't you tell me how you really escaped? She's like, what are you talking about? There was a tunnel. Like, I mean, I didn't think it was that important. The fact that I'm like here is what I thought was the best part of the story. But I mean, sorry, I didn't include all the logistics. How do you know about that anyway? Only my uncle and my little sister know about that. Dun, dun, dun. Well, my episodes end. The Falcon Crest gang has fully decided, you know what? It's De Bercy. De Bercy is Johan Reedman's son. Unfortunately for them, they have this entire conversation in Angie's study next to the unassuming, eavesdropping giant sculpture in her corner. Topless Tanya, the secretary, is in giving her marching orders. She goes over to the house, Falcon Crest that is, and she pretends to be a legal assistant for the Manimal. Oh, Mr. Reardon wanted me to pick up some paperwork here. Charlie goes to get the door. Angie's there with him, and she's like, oh, Charlie, I can handle this. She thinks the woman has some dirt that she's dug up on someone. Only this woman reaches into her brown purse and starts brandishing a weapon, only she's holding it palm side up like she's handing the gun over to Angela. Now, Angie is at first, she's smiling, looking at her. She looks down at the gun and says the most gangster thing I've ever heard on this show. Let me make sure I paint this picture well. Topless Tanya is holding the gun, catawampers in her hand, palm up. This is an invitation to spend the evening with Gustav Reedman. Angie, with a full gun pointed at her gut, rolls her eyes, scoffs, and says, over my dead body. In other words, you're going to have to shoot me. If you're going to pull that thing out, you better use it and shoot me. But then Topless Tanya's like, well, there's a special guest, your daughter, Julia. End scene. Angie looks all shocked. I find this is the first time Falcon Crest has kind of gone completely off script. It's not unusual in a soap for the characters they have to kind of quickly get over things. They have to quickly move on, but this season, they started out painting her as a grieving mother and a grieving widow to Philip, when in actuality, she never showed either one of them very much emotion. Seemed like Julia just kind of got on her nerves because she was weak. She was a means to an end because of Lance. But there has been a little bit of mommy guilt this season, but now Hermrod God has a weapon on her. Is she going to follow this woman? Unfortunately, I think she is. Angela clearly doesn't fight. If Charlie was there, I thought maybe he could take this girl out, but there's no threat. Richard, Chase, and the Manimal are headed to San Francisco in the back of a limo. So at this point in this series, everything is out. Richard has confessed to being in the cartel to everyone. Chase asks him, how long have you been in cahoots with these people? Richard claims he let go of them years ago. That is not true. It was like a year ago. So Chase starts putting two and two together. He's like, so did they have something to do with the plane crash? It kind of seems like they did. Richard was like, yeah. And Chase is like, well, ain't this some really? Richard goes, well, listen. The Manimal and Angela were the ones who were content to set you up. I never set you up. Let the record reflect. I was on your side the whole time. So now it's all out in the open. All the secrets that we know as the audience, the families at Falcon Crest know. They're now trying to tiptoe around to get the drop on Reedman before he realizes that they know who he is, only they are unaware of the spy tactics and that Topless Tanya is kidnapping Angela as we speak. There was a lot of elderly abuse in this episode. However, if anybody can handle it, it's Big Ange. Can't wait to see what happens on the next episode. I forgot there's one little part. Chase is telling Maggie everything over dinner. And she's like, wait, tell me again. So you ducked and Richard knocked out Angela? Not them being messy over dinner. But that is how the cookie crumbles. I'm excited. We're 10 more episodes, I believe. A little more than 10 episodes. Julia's still alive. Julia's still running around. She hasn't actually done anything yet, so I can't wait to see what happens on the next episode. In the meantime, in between time, keep an eye out the next time you're at the park for a play date. You never know when a tanker is going to spill 25,000 gallons of lighter fluid booze. Stay hydrated, stay moisturized, mind your own business, and keep all of your drama on TV.